Hi, it's Joe with the Kolb Bee Farm. I thought I would do a kind of a mid-year update video on what's going on. I know I just started making these videos, but I think I'm just going to kind of do a summary update video periodically and let you know what my progress is. I started out this year with getting one beehive, and then I got a second one. And I just really love beekeeping, so I was planning on just doing it as a hobby, and I just enjoyed it so much, and I was kind of looking for a second side business. I already run a coffee equipment supply business. I sell espresso machines and grinders to coffee shops and home users. I wanted a side business, so I wanted to create a side business in something I love to do, and I love beekeeping. And I've been a beekeeper in the past. I was a beekeeper probably 10 plus years ago. And then I kept bees for probably about 10 years. Well, maybe more than that. But anyway, I had quite a bit of experience as a backyard beekeeper. I had several hives, and I had this personal goal of mine. I wanted to maximize honey production from one hive as much as possible. I kind of had this goal of beating the world record in honey production from a single queen hive. I didn't hit that goal. I did get 350 pounds from one hive plus what I left them for the winter, but I did extract 350 pounds, and then I had most of my hives that do about 200, 250 pounds, which quite a few beekeepers use. But so at the beginning of this year, I wasn't planning on creating a side business out of it, but I got these hives, and I'm like, man, I just really love doing this. So I decided that I would do this as a side business, and I started splitting the hives. I got a couple swarms, I got a cutout, and then I got a couple nuke hives again recently. So I bought 4 hives, and then I've done, I think, 8 splits. So I've created 8 of my own nukes from the original nuke hives plus the nuke hives that I got. So I'm going to go into the winter with probably 16 hives. Next time I inspect them, I may do a couple splits again. We'll see. I think something that I learned is when I was making the splits originally, I should have been making them a little bit smaller. I was making my splits kind of large, and what I found is I could have been making them smaller. I could have just been taking a frame of brood, a frame of pollen, and a frame of honey, something like that. And then I could have had a queen in there that would have been increasing that population in that nuke, and then I could have been replicating that over more nukes. But I was creating them larger to begin with, and it kind of decreased the number of hives I could have had. I think if I had done it right this year, I could have had maybe 25 or 30 hives that could have been winterable. I'm going to be wintering them in 5-on-5 nuke boxes and single deeps. In the past, and this is something I'm doing new this year, I've never done this before with overwintering nukes, and I've never done single deep overwintering either. In the past, I would winter in 2 deeps and a medium, or maybe even more. I had these massive colonies, and I would give them tons of honey, probably 120 pounds, and they would overwinter pretty well, and they'd come out in the spring and with a huge population, and that would give me a nice boost for summer. And that's how some of my really big colonies, that's why I got them, because I started them out so early with a big population that it gave them a really good boost for the honey flow. But now that I'm looking at doing this as a sideline beekeeper, where I'm going to make this part of my business, if I have 50 hives, I'm going to be changing the way I do things. And one of the things that I've really been researching is this single deep wintering methodology, and it just makes so much sense to me. The wild hives, they winter in colonies that are about that size, about the size of a single deep. And you just make sure you pack that full of honey, and they replace all that empty brood cells, not all of it. You want to leave a small area in the center for them to continue raising brood. But you pack it all in, and during the winter they're consuming that. So by spring you have a larger area for the queen to start creating a brood nest. So that's what is different for me. And something else that I've never done is making all these nukes. In the past, I didn't do that. I wasn't trying to expand. But now that I'm looking at this as a business, I want to really perfect this nuke technique. This will be the first time that I'm overwintering nukes. And we'll see what happens, but based on all the research I'm doing and based on all the people I've talked to and people on the Facebook groups and forums, it seems like the nuke overwintering has a very high success rate, and it's actually higher than overwintering in 2 deeps or even more. And the same thing with the single deeps. The success rate seems to be a lot higher. And there are things that you have to take into account, but that is something that's going to be new for me, and that is going to be a learning experience. When I'm making these videos, I want to show you knowledge that I have in certain areas, but also things that I'm learning that are new to me, and it'll just kind of be a learning experience. Right now I have 15 or 16 hives, and they're at varying stages of strength because I did create them as nukes. At this point, I think I'm probably going to stop making nukes. Right now it's July 27th. I'm going to inspect the hives in a couple days and see what I think. When I went to the bee yard last week, I wasn't sure if I should create more nukes. So I'll see this week. I'll see how they're expanding, see how the population in some of them is growing, and see if there's enough frames to pull a couple more nukes out. I was really hoping to hit 20 colonies for overwintering this year, but I want to be careful because it's already almost August, and at this point I have to really think about getting them ready for the winter, and it's hard to believe that we're already thinking about winter. Especially in Michigan, the winters come pretty early, so I have to start thinking about that sooner rather than later. We pretty much have August and part of September where I have to build the population up, and by beginning of September I want to make sure that the population is where it should be at. I want to make sure I've been treating all of August. I'm going to do oxalic acid treatments, and I'm going to do powdered sugar treatments every week now until the beginning of September. I'm going to be hitting them with oxalic acid vaporization and powdered sugar. I'm going to do powdered sugar on some of the hives. I don't have screen bottom boards on all the hives. I want to kind of do that as an experimental thing. I know people have success with it. I don't know for me if it's going to be worth the effort involved. It seems like the oxalic acid works really well. I want to try and keep that mite population as low as possible. It seems like that is critical to getting these smaller hives to overwinter properly. And I think it's the case with the larger hives too. But in the past, I didn't do oxalic acid treatment and I didn't do powdered sugar treatment. I did only Apistan. And then I actually did my colonies. I was working on a hygienic behavior. I was raising my own queens, and I would work on breeding that hygienic behavior, and they would attack those mites and get the mites off. So I really didn't have too many issues with the mites. And I'm probably going to continue doing some of that kind of thing, but I think if I'm doing a semi-commercial operation, I'm going to really work on forming a methodology for my beehive management that is quick and repeatable. I'm going to look to people like Ian Stepler from Canada. He has a system that works really well. And in his management, he keeps all of his hives pretty much identical. And that's the methodology that I'm going to try and emulate going forward. I think if you keep everything consistent, when you go to a hive, it's pretty much like the neighboring hive or the neighboring hive. And if I want to do some experimentation, then I'll have separate hives for those and do my experimentation with those. I would still like to see if I can create a hive that gets 400 pounds of honey in a year, and I think I can still do that. I just pick my best looking colony, I keep that, I don't do any splits off of it, anything like that. I just build that population up until it's massive. But running a hive like that, it takes a lot of time because you have to be very cognizant of swarming. There's always a huge risk of swarming when you're running these massive populations. You have to always be rotating that comb out, making sure that the queen's egg laying area constantly has space available. If the queen feels crowded, they're going to swarm, and you're going to have this massive colony that will swarm and you'll lose half your bees. So you don't want to do that. That will ruin your world record hive very quickly. So to do that, you always have to be in that hive and looking at every frame and making sure there's no queen cells and making sure there's space and really thinking about how you're managing that hive. And when you're running a semi-commercial operation, you don't have time to do that. You just have time to be in and out real quick. And that's something that I'm gonna be working on over the winter. I've kind of started figuring out some of that process. I'm going to put a process in place for next year, and I'm going to try and run my operation that way. That's kind of where I'm at with the bees. And then I want to do these videos. I believe in giving back, but also when I'm doing the videos, it helps me really think about what I'm doing, and it helps me learn. So one of the best ways of learning is to teach. And I do have quite a bit of knowledge in certain aspects of beekeeping, and I think I can help a lot of beginners with that knowledge. There's a lot of areas where I need additional knowledge, and there's a lot of areas where I have no experience, and it's a new area for me. So my goal for the YouTube channel is to help people. I believe in giving back. There were a lot of people that helped me with my beekeeping, and I also believe it's a good way for me to learn. So I hope to grow this channel. I kind of have this goal in mind of getting to 10,000 subscribers by spring of next year. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if people are going to like my videos enough. I've never done a YouTube video channel. I'm not the greatest communicator, so that's another learning experience for me. But I want to just kind of put myself out there and learn as I go. One of the things that I have to figure out is how to get all my audio and my video equipment working properly. I shot quite a few hours of video only to find out that all of my audio was totally shot. Probably 5 hours of audio. And that's something that I could have prevented. I could have just checked my videos here and there to make sure that everything was working correctly. But I didn't, so I lost all that video. So I have a whole bunch of videos with car noises in the background. There's a pretty busy road where I keep my bees. And then there's buzzing, and so there's all those things that I got to figure out. So hopefully you'll be patient with me as I get my videos set up better. Right now I'm recording in my office. In my office, it's a better environment for recording videos, but it's still a learning process. I have to figure out all this stuff, and I hope that you'll be patient with me and kind of grow with me as I take this journey into YouTube. I would like to have a successful YouTube channel, and I would also like to have a successful beekeeping operation. And I think as I do some of these things and as I experiment and you give feedback, it'll make me think about things in a different way, and it'll force me to learn things that I wouldn't necessarily think of learning myself. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this update, and I hope you enjoy my videos. Please let me know what you think. Please like this channel and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. That will alert you anytime I upload a video. You'll get a notification that I uploaded a video, and you won't miss any of my content. Thank you.